Welcome to Trailer Geeks and Teaser Gods. I'm your host, Corey Nathan. This is where we get to speak to the brilliant and creative and generous people who make the greatest coming attractions, movie posters, and digital campaigns of all time. This program is brought to you by the Golden Trailer Awards, and as you're listening to this, it's right around the corner. Really excited about the GTAs and what everything that Monica and Evie do for our industry. And today, I am so pleased to be joined by creative director and senior trailer editor, XAV, and the founder of Behind the Trailer, Kris McDonald. Kris, it's so good to have you, man. How you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Go ahead.
I'm excited to be on your podcast. I'm a huge fan and really learned so much about the industry, about trailers, about the people behind the trailers from listening to your podcast. So to be on it right now is it's kind of surreal. I know you get that a lot, but I'm grateful for this chance to sit and talk with you.
I appreciate you saying that. Like, I really do, because I don't know. I just like hanging out with cool people that are doing pretty killer work, and like it's just cool that I get to do this. So I appreciate that. So I suck as a headhunter because I this is like the first time basically that we're doing this, right? Like we haven't hung out really, have we?
We have never hung out, and what's funny is I actually have a story about this, and actually more so I have an apology. Like I think I actually owe you an apology because I went back to my messages. You did reach out to me a number of times. I think when I transitioned from open road to trailer park. Open road was my my first place I started, and moved to trailer park. That transition for me wasn't easy. It was scary. It was like the first time I was leaving, the nest, and so the transition from there was really difficult. And I struggled a little bit with that. Like I didn't want to hurt people's feelings. I felt, like this is where I should stay here. But anyway, so when you first messaged me, I had never heard of who you were, and like, who's this guy who wants to go to lunch with me? And then when I found out, like, oh yeah, I don't remember who told me. Like, oh yeah, he's, a headhunter, and then it almost scared me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love what's going on here. I love my job where I'm at. I'm good. And so I always just kind of like pushed you away, when in hindsight, if I would have known a little bit more, I wish I wouldn't have done that, because I feel like maybe we could have, become better friends in the process. But so
Well, that's cool. It's all good because it depends, like where you hear about. It's not just me as a headhunter, but there's some other folks that are doing this work that are good at it too. Like I just feel like it's good to know folks in the industry. I mean, granted, so I was placing people here and there, and if you heard about me from Jeff Smith first, he probably wouldn't have had any kind of things. Jeff and I are pals now, but like there were moments when Jeff, did he did not think kindly of me. Let's just put it that way. He told the story, But anyway, I'll folks can tune into the Jeff Smith episode. Ron made an appearance on that one, Ron Moeller. But so we had some fun times. But yeah, if you were like a kid in the industry and you were first hearing about me from Jeff back in the day, I could imagine you wouldn't have wanted to meet with me. But so for folks that we're going to get to some of the really important work that Kris is doing beyond trailers, actually behind the trailer. But
there you go.
We'll get to that. But folks, like if you're on the younger side of your career, or if you're kind of in the middle of your career or advanced of your career, there is something to be said, not necessarily about meeting headhunters, but just like if somebody from the industry calls you, there's nothing stopping you from sitting down with somebody, whether it's another editor, the owner of an agency, a creative executive, a headhunter, whoever, a music person, a designer, a finisher, like whoever it might be. Man, the basic currency of this industry really is relationships in a lot of ways. So actually, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I want to know where you're from and everything, but there were a couple of critical moments when you did something that a lot of folks would kind of squint at and be like, that's kind of indentured servanty. Like, so what I'm thinking of, there was a time that you mentioned that you did like a soccer video for an executive's daughter or something like that. So
Yeah.
why? So to the point that I was making, why would you do something like that?
So that was when I was at Open Road, and I think I was maybe an assistant editor. I think at this point I kind of knew like this is what I wanted to do, which I didn't know that initially when I went to Open Road. I just wanted to have a job within post-production in the movie business. And then as I was there, I created meeting the editors there and seeing their incredible work, knew like right away that this is what I wanted to do. So then my mission then was like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to figure out how to do this and become good at this. And so I did everything. I mean, I did all the things that everyone says they do. Like I was there first and I'd stay late and I'd work on the movies after everyone went home. But then one day we had Tony Sello was a client that,
Sella.
yeah, Tony Sello was there quite often. And one day Jeff called me into his office. He's like, hey, Tony's daughter, I think, is graduating high school or something, and they're doing a soccer celebration, and he needs a video cut for his daughter's party. And I was like, cool, yeah, I'm down. He's like, yeah, but you got to do it this weekend. So I had to come in on Saturday, and instead of being like, oh, this is so dumb, I really looked at that as like an opportunity to kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna make the best soccer video I've ever made, and I like did sweeping or like the song that I forget what song I used, but I mean I pushed in on card like the pictures and really kind of like tried to create an emotion.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, but on Sunday he came in the office and Jeff wasn't even there. So here's an assistant editor scared out of my mind, and Tony Sello walks in to sit and watch this video.
Oh man.
And I'm sitting in the bay with him, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was just like, it's perfect, it's amazing. And I was like, I was scared to death, but then I was so excited that I was like, oh, he loved this. And then he pulled me in the other bay and he started telling me about this you gotta study this guy's work. And he's talking about Nick Temple. And he's
Oh,
like, look, we
okay.
just
Yeah.
released this X-Men 3 trailer. And like, look how the shots he chooses. And he was just like spitting out everything about Nick Temple. And I was just floored. I was like, okay, this is amazing. And like that kind of started me, all right, I'm going to study editor's work. I studied Nick Temple a lot and all the other editors at Open Road. But that was it. Like I think taking any opportunity and then trying to put your best foot forward is always going to be good for you in the long run, I think.
All right, so I got a lot of questions, but first and foremost, I can't let you off the hook and talk about Sella without doing your Sella impression. Like everybody's got a Sella impression.
What do you do? What do you got that shot there? What is it? What is that? What do you even do? No, one time he called Jeff and he's like, hey, we're working on this movie, Australia. And he had this song, like a One Republic song, and he's like, "Hey, have the kid." He called me the kid. Have the kid cut a trailer to this cue, and I think I had like a day to do it. I was freaked out, so I remember I cut it, and we fibered with him, and he's like, "Jeff, pick up the phone. Jeffy, pick up the phone." I was like, "Oh no!" And he like picked up the phone, and like they're like talking, and then he hung up, and he was like, he didn't like it. I was like, oh no, you didn't like it. But that was the story. You never knew what you were gonna get with Tony. But yeah,
Sella, at that point, for folks who don't know, Tony Sella was already a legend in the
yeah.
business. And he came up, through the ranks, a very, very creative guy, but also, how would you describe his, I wouldn't say he was mean. He was just sort of unpredictable. He had
Yeah,
we call it Celanese. He had his own language.
100%. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, just like I honestly like now that I've been in the industry for so long, I wish I could go back and work with him again, knowing what I know now, because I
Yeah.
feel like I might have absorbed even more. But back then, I was just like, I mean, I learned valuable lessons from that time too, just as a
But just
new
pointing you in the
editor.
direction of Nick Temple at that point.
Yeah.
So the idea that you would go and study somebody else's work, which plays a lot into what you're doing now. I do want to talk to you about a lot more about that. But take me back a little bit further. You said that you knew you wanted to get into the post. First of all, where'd you come from? You moved to LA about 20 something years ago. Where'd you come from?
Yeah, I came from I went to films. I went to a year of film school. I didn't want to waste too much time, but I knew I wanted to be in the movie business, so I went to Full Sail in Florida for a year. And it was just a
Oh,
general, like, I got an associate of science in film and television, and there you have
there's a
cinematography,
couple
and
others in the industry from Full Sail, right?
that's what I've seen. Yeah. And they've changed a lot. Like when I went there, they only offered an associate of science, and now I believe it's like a full university and you can get everything there.
Okay.
But it was a great experience to just see all the aspects of filmmaking. You know, you make a short film, you
Yeah.
write, you edit. There's like like one editing course that you took and whatnot. But I kind of already knew that I wanted to be in post-production. I thought my path was to edit features when I first
Mm,
moved out here.
okay.
So when I made the move to
But
LA,
wait. So editing in particular, how did you figure out that that was your calling?
oh, so um I have two younger brothers that
Uh-huh.
I mean like there's a big 17-year gap between us. So I
Oh.
mean now they're older, you know, now they're 26 and 27. But like back when I was in college and younger, you know, they're like 3, 4, 5 years old and I would make home videos with them.
That's
And me and my
awesome.
yeah, I played video games with them a lot, and like me and my dad would actually create like these scary home videos with them, and like I've got a Chucky doll behind me. I have a video with my younger brother like putting a Chucky doll on the table and bringing him to life, and so that was editing was a way that we could make these movies come to life, and so I
Mm.
always just was fascinated by that process. I didn't know what I was doing back then or knew anything about storytelling through editing, but it was just fun. And so I was kind of pointed towards that. I tried to direct a little bit, you know, but it didn't spark me as the same as editing did.
Mm. And then how did you end up getting that gig at Open Road was your first
Mhm.
gig in the industry? How did you
Yeah,
get that?
so I when I was out here, I was out here for a couple months, and then someone I was living, one of my roommates that I was living with had known someone that was working at New Wave at the time, and invited them over for dinner just as like a networking opportunity, and like we got to talking, and they're like, "Oh, what do you want to do?" I was like, "Oh, I want to do post production," and they're like, "Oh, well." There's another company that we, you know, are part of Open Road. We'll send you the resume. You know, I think they're looking for a runner. And sure enough, the next day Jeff called and had scheduled an interview, and then I went and interviewed with him and offered me the job right then.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Did you know what you were getting into when they said runner? Like,
Zero. I had no idea. But at that point I didn't care. Like I just wanted to be a part of the industry. Like I have an actual job, even though, you know, paid dirt cheap. Like I didn't really care about the money. I just wanted to like be around the people full time. So and then it was like I'd never made a cup of coffee in my life and I had to learn how to make coffee, and every Monday I'd go to the grocery store and I'd have to fill up a cart to supply the office with, and I didn't care because I was around all the creative people, and I got to drive onto the lot to deliver tapes, you know, it was like before all digital stuff. So there were the perks were there, and so I was just yeah, that's
so who told you like to stay late? Who or was that just something that you just started doing on your own? And then other parts of like how you developed your craft. I'm trying to remember. Was Bill Gus one of the
yeah.
big guys there? Yeah, I'm
Oh
trying to
yeah.
remember who was there at
Bill
that
Gus
time.
and Brian Gus.
Yeah.
Bill Gus, Brian Gus, Jason Crockett.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
Crockett was
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Crockett was there.
Oh, and you're back
Adrian.
with Crockett now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Small, yeah, full
Yeah.
circle
Yeah.
via Jason. Then Adrian was there. Brent Buckman was there for a little bit in
Buckman.
yeah, in the back half. Yeah, so many people.
That was a
Dana
good
Flowers
team.
obviously was there as a crucial part.
Yeah, that's right. And she was building
Yeah.
a whole other side of the business for him at that
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
And then but were guys like Bill Goss or Crockett, were they inviting you into their bay, like, hey, take a look at this, and or were you doing it more as an assistant, where you kind of were looking at their timelines and starting to learn that? Like, how did that all come? Your own development, how did it all come about?
Yeah, so originally it's funny when I wanted to practice cutting, originally I was like digitizing DVDs of movies that I had at home, and I was cutting like fake trailers, and then I'd show Jeff Smith. I'd be
Oh,
like, "Hey, can I show you a cut?" And he'd look at it and he'd be like, "Great." He's like, "But why aren't you working like just work on our movies here?" And in order to do that, then I had to stay late to do that, and
mm,
obviously because I was busy doing assistant work. But that and that was the other thing. The editors were always so like willing to show you their cuts, but I
yeah.
also had access to them because I was an assistant. So like Adrian in particular, like I would look at his sequences and like I probably studied his work the most
Oh,
because I feel like his style of cutting and his storytelling and the way that he created emotion in his cuts resonated with me. And I had like this drive to like I want to know like how he does that. So I would look at his sequences and I would try to like mimic his sequences and study them. And so, and then I would show them cuts, and they're always, like they were always so nice and like gave good feedback. That's one thing I was like with behind the trailer that I'm learning, like, and also as a transition to like a producer and creative director, like I still have those cuts. Like I have a folder saved, and I've saved all the old cuts that I used to do. Like the things that I showed them, I still have them today. And I look at them now and I'm like, man, this is garbage. Like, this is literally the worst TV spot I've ever seen in my life. But like I never got that note from them. Like they were always so kind and had good things to say, and then gave me part of the business is like being able to take notes and then try to apply them.
So now when you
Um,
get an assistant's cut, you're like, this is shit. And you
exactly.
throw something at him,
Like,
right?
you're in the wrong business. Make me a coffee.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that time of year again when we're all thinking about the upcoming Golden Trailer Awards on May 28th, and it'll be here before you know it. The program book for Golden Trailer Awards 26th annual is your opportunity to reach the people who matter most: studio teams, marketers, and industry leaders shaping the future of entertainment. Advertising a page puts your brand directly in their hands while also supporting one of the industry's most creative and celebrated award shows. For availability and details, please contact their sponsorship director extraordinaire, Rebecca at goldentrailer.com. That's Rebecca, Rebecca, at goldentrailer.com. I can't stress it enough because a similar story has been told many times on this program. But I see that same kind of, it's a very specific kind of hunger, but it's a hunger that is derived from a desire to make cool shit,
Yeah.
and then you're seeing cool shit being made all around you, and you're like, okay, what can I pick up from this guy and that guy and this woman, and like
But
that.
the desire has to be so much that when someone does give you a note
Yeah.
that like this is your like you've been up till since 3 a.m. cutting on this thing, and you were like in love with it and you couldn't think of a single frame to change, and then someone comes in and says, well, the music's not really doing it for me, like can
Mm.
you like maybe change the music, and then to be able to say, huh, I don't agree with you, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do it. And then 9 times out of 10, it makes it better. Or sometimes it doesn't, but you still have to like you have to get over yourself. You have like that, I think, is the hardest part. So your drive has to be enough to like willing to try all different avenues and be willing to collaborate, because no one in this business is a solo, just like even Nick Temple. Like no one in this business just like, oh, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna edit and I'm gonna do my thing and I'm gonna send it out and it's gonna be perfect and we're gonna be good. Like it's a collaboration, and you have to be able to collaborate with others.
I think one of the reasons I didn't become an editor is because that note, anybody that gives me a note, it would be as if Bane came in, and first I will crush your spirit, then I will allow you to die. Like I just couldn't, like, I don't know, because it's so personal. It's like
Yeah.
you're giving birth to this thing, and then here's somebody coming in like, this is shit. Yeah, whatever however nice they're saying it, that's how I'd be hearing it. So how do you develop the thick skin in order to take a note constructively and then figure out how to apply what they're asking you? Because that's a huge part. And not just your
Oh yeah.
producer, but the creative exec a lot of times is saying something that they're getting from the filmmaker or their bosses or
Yeah.
whatever, right? So how do you develop that muscle?
I mean, I feel like we're all still developing it. I think it just takes time. It takes trust in those that you're working with and trust in your ability to edit. I've told like new editors this too, like you're gonna get notes sometimes or a lot of times that you disagree with, that you don't think will work, or that maybe you've tried, but you just have to like push that aside and try it.
Mm,
And what I've learned in my experience, that as I've pushed my ego aside
yeah.
and just like try it out, like I said, more like 9 times out of 10 it actually makes it better. And so I have learned to like to be passionate about what I'm working on, but also to be open for when I receive that note or that criticism to try it, to just like to be open to it. And if it
Yeah.
works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then I also like, if I still like really disagree with something, I will still do the note, but then I'll just make an alt. And I'll
Mm.
just like, you know what, I'm gonna have my version to the side as an alt, and we'll show both. And we'll just you just move forward.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So, of course, you remember your first finish, right? Were you still an assistant when you did? It was a TV spot, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. I might have actually been a runner. I wasn't even an assistant
Oh,
yet.
wow.
Yeah.
So, tell me about
That's
that. How did that? How'd you get that first
well,
finish?
Well, anyone who knows me personally knows that horror, like I've always just been a huge horror fan. Like grew up watching horror movies with my mom, like just always been like my passion is horror. I just absolutely love horror and drama. And so when we got Silent Hill, like in the 2006 Silent Hill movie in, of course I was like, okay, I'm gonna practice cutting. I want to cut on this. And then at that point, I had practiced enough that at one point, Jeff and Todd Buford was a writer over there, and they're like, well, why don't you just take a script? Why don't you just grab it? I don't know if they gave me a script that was like someone else's script, or they just gave me a new script.
Yeah.
And that was one that I was so happy that I felt like this is real. Like I'm not doing this on the side, but I'm actually cutting the spot and the client's gonna see it. Like they're gonna actually have their eyes on something I did. So I did. I mean, I stayed. I literally think it was like till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, just like over analyzing every single shot and just like putting my soul into it. And then, yeah, long story short, like they sent it to the client. They really liked it. We made revisions and ended up finishing. And I mentioned this in my in the ebook thing that I put together. Like I'll never forget walking into my apartment one day and seeing my spot on
On
TV.
TV.
On
Yeah.
TV. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know how, I mean, obviously the stars aligned, and like walking in and like seeing that, like it meant so much to me. And it was just like that's mine. Like I created that. Like that is there because I am here. Like I did this.
Yeah.
And that just, fueled the fire even more. And
And
then it was like now I want to go to a theater and I want to sit in a theater and see a trailer of mine. Like that was then my next. Actually, before that was I just want to edit full time. Like I would dream about, like I used to write, I used to be a pretty avid journal writer, and I have journal entries where I would talk about the dream of like, man, imagine coming to work and walking into an edit bay,
hmm,
and that's my office. Like
yeah.
what am I doing today? I'm just sitting down and I'm editing all day. Like this is my job. You're paying me to sit here and edit. And
Yeah.
that thought just was like seemed so surreal to me, but I wanted it so bad. Like I wanted that to happen. And then you just progress from that. And then it's like I want to finish a trailer, and then I want to finish a horror trailer, and then I want to do this, or it's just like I always try to find like what's that next step to keep me motivated and excited about the industry.
So, I still want to ask about that the first TV spot. So one thing, first of all, when you go into the theater and you see one of your trailers, do you still get that same feeling from the time that you saw
Oh,
your first TV?
I
Same thing, right?
100, even today I see a spot online now. Less in theaters now. It's more just online. Like
Yeah.
there's a sense of just like you feel good. You created this. Like you worked with people, you collaborated, and you created something for this movie that will throughout the rest of the time will be there, whether it's
Yeah.
good or bad. Like it's there. Like you had a part in it.
You put something out into the world that others are having an experience with.
Yeah.
There's really something to be said for that. Now, that first TV spot, you mentioned the script. Did you use the script as sort of the skeleton or the balloon around which you built the paper mache? Is that how you approached it? And
Yeah,
and if so, do you still have a similar process today?
Um, a little bit different today. For back then, being so green, the script really helped because it was one of those where, it's like four cards in the back end, like the silence or break this, the silence is broken or something. And it was more of like a montage in the back, so I could really kind of like create the music and then have the build and the cards slam in and just have like a montage and have a little bit of story in the setup. So I think structurally it helped being a new editor that I could kind of grasp that.
Yeah.
And now my process is a little different. Copy's not normally something that I jump to right away. It's more of like I'll cut. the story, and then if I feel like there's pieces missing or there needs to be some connective tissue, then I'll say, okay, maybe we need some copy here, or
Mm.
a chapter marker. We need to like break this up because I need to jump to something else. Like maybe we do a pedigree card here or something. But I don't really typically lean heavy into copy right off the bat as I did with that spot.
Yeah. And then, so what about your first trailer? What was your
Oh,
first finish?
so after I finished the TV spot, Adrian, I would say of all the editors at Open Road, Adrian is probably the one that I consider like my mentor.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in his office one day and asking him. I said, "Hey, how old were you when you finished your first trailer?" Because he was pretty he was young, and he said, "Oh, I was 25 when I finished it." And I think at the
Fucker.
time I was like, "Yeah." I think at the time I was maybe
I got to get
20.
Sainsbury Carter on here, man.
Oh man, he's amazing. I think at the time I was like 23 or something, or I don't remember. I might somewhere around there. But I remember that being like ding ding ding. Okay, I'm gonna finish my first trailer before I'm 25. Like I'm gonna follow the path that Adrian's on.
Yeah.
And so I just practiced. I just, I cut a lot of bad trailers. I got good at like creating an open, but then it would just drag, or like anything Adrian was working on, I was also cutting my own version of the trailer, and then I would see his trailer and like, throw the table over and be like, "What? How did you come up with it?" Like it was
Yeah.
just, but it was like that's how I learned. I learned from them. I looked at my mistakes and said, "Okay, how can I get better at this?" So the first trailer that I actually got the finish on was for The Blind Side,
Oh, right.
and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and man, and like I said, I love there's two things I love: horror and I love dramas. Like
Mm.
creating an emotion. And that was another one that uh Bill Gus was cutting on it. So
Okay.
obviously like he was the head dog. He's an amazing editor, like absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of cutting a piece just because, like because Jeff let me cut one. And again, I, just stayed late and I found I there's this band that I was really into at the time called Red. And they're like a pretty heavy rock band, but they had one song that was just like this orchestral symphony, just like really sweeping. And I was like, what if I tried that in the back end? And I did, and it made it feel different. And all of a sudden they're like they liked it and they went for it and finished it. And it was like that was a pretty validating moment for me to like let my like to tell myself like, okay, you know what, maybe I can actually do this. I mean, and Bill's trailer that I was up against was like really good, and then they ended up coming back and finishing his trailer as the trailer 2 for it, so we both got our pieces. But that finishing that, and then also I had just turned 25, I think, or I hit that goal.
Yeah.
But that moment for me was like, okay, this is amazing. Like maybe I can do this, and they're liking it, and yeah,
Yeah. Off to the
that was
races.
yeah, exactly.
I've noticed that in the work, your own work that I've seen, as well as some of the work that you analyze and talk about on behindthetrailer.com. Sorry, I'm giving it. I
Thank you.
love what you're doing on there. It's not, so I genuinely, I just think it's so cool. But I've noticed that a common theme, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm picking up something that you're not putting down, is that your use of music, whether it's like just kind of putting it right out there, or sometimes you kind of weave it in and you get like a sousant here and a dash there. Um, a lot of times it's counterintuitive than the original recording. Like the original recording might be kind of a certain feel, but you're using it as sort of a counter note sometimes, in order to. It's kind of like you don't realize that a song's being played in a major key until you hear a minor key. So
Hmm.
you're using certain cues that we all recognize, but you're using it in a counterintuitive way. Does it make sense what I'm picking up on?
Yeah, I think, and I'll be perfectly honest, sometimes that's intentional and sometimes it's not. It just happens, it's a happy mistake. I think just using music as an element to help either tell the story or to create an emotion,
Mm,
um, whether that is playing something counter or having something sweeping or whatever it might be. um I think it's just using that as one of the tools, as story for storytelling.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm thinking, Bill Neal will sometimes do this, where it'll be this really sweet kid song, like do 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 do, and then I'm like, oh, something's right around the
Yeah,
corner,
you
isn't it?
know.
You know, it's something really sweet. So anyway, that's what I'm. But I noticed that too. Okay, so you had a good run at Open Road, a good chapter one of your career. What it was Trailer Park after that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
what prompted? Was Nick still there? Was there any particular?
No, so Dana and I had become really close
Oh, yeah.
at Open Road, and I worked on a lot of home entertainment campaigns with her, had a lot of late nights with her, flying home from vacation to come back and work on campaigns with her. And then also on top of that, at the time she had a client at Lionsgate who would give us these straight to DVD horror movies, like literally zero budget, like no budget, but Dana and I share that passion of horror movies, and so just having an opportunity to like work on like these straight to DVD horror movies was
Yeah.
so much fun for us. So like we became pretty good friends, and at the time she had left and she had gone over to Trailer Park, and I found myself uh at Open Road. Like we got a lot of comedies. We got occasionally we get some bigger movies, but not very often. And I was with Destiny for a lot of the time near the end with like Tangled, and all that was amazing. But I felt like I wanted to work on bigger movies.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted the opportunity to like let's work on the big stuff. And Trailer Park at the time like was getting all of that stuff. And Dana, I talked with Dana, and she had talked with Matt, and Matt agreed to talk with me. And so I went over and talked with Matt, and he was just like pretty much like, yeah, if you want to come, let's do this. Like this is great. And so I did, and I that was like I was scary. Like I said, like I struggled because Jeff Smith's like such an amazing person, and I owe everything to Jeff, like for giving me a
Yeah.
shot. That
Yeah. Yeah.
little scared kid in his office who's like, you want to be an editor, do you? Okay, well, you don't know anything. Like here, you make me, whatever. It just like for giving me a shot, and like, eventually then being an assistant and getting a bay, and like really kind of and working with Tony and all those things I learned from there. So I just felt like it was really difficult for me to like look at him and say, "Hey, I'm gonna leave." Like
Yeah.
I'm leaving, and seeing it inside, like inside, I think he genuinely didn't want me to leave.
Yeah.
So that wasn't easy for me. But as life is, you move on, and Trailer Park was like the exact next chapter that I needed. And
Mm.
they were, Chris Park had just gotten there a couple months
Oh
before, and
man. And
yeah,
oh yeah,
so
and that I think I want to say because he had come from the very first chapter of Wild Card
mhm,
and went over to TP, but that was the first time that he was creative directing in a much more
yeah,
active way.
yeah.
He was still hands-on editing, I know, but like, oh, that must have been fucking awesome because
Oh, it was.
a lot of people who are crushing it now, Krista
Oh,
Cabela Cologne, Adam Finkelstein,
yeah.
like they all
We were there.
benefited.
Yeah, from
Yeah,
that. Exactly. I was surrounded by the top editors in the industry today.
yeah, yeah,
The amount like to learn from all of them. Like I just was it was just it couldn't have been a better move for me at the time. And then also the way that Matt Brubaker worked at Trailer Park was so awesome with like we'd get a movie in, a huge movie. We get a Christopher Nolan movie in, and five editors would be like, "Oh my gosh, I want to work on that," and he'd be like, "Okay, cut a
yeah. Oh,
trailer,
that's
cut a trailer,
awesome.
cut a trailer, cut a trailer." Like he didn't care at all. So like, we'd have like six trailers for a huge movie that we'd submit to the client, and
Yeah.
he'd give you a shot. It was awesome.
Yeah. I want to point something out about the way that you made that move. I noticed that you didn't say money. Now, that's important, and here's why. Is that I've noticed that a lot of folks. I've been doing this a long time, and I've noticed that a lot of folks do indeed move over for another 10 grand here, another 25 grand here, and I'm not minimizing how important money is and making a little bit of extra, extra change, but like. But those, when the first reason that someone cites about making a move is money, I mean, 99 times out of 100, that move is not going to work out.
Yeah.
But when you talk about, well, they were working on this kind of movie, and oh, by the way, there was these creatives over here, and I could work on these different types of movies, and I could work with these different creatives. Like those are more sustainable moves for everyone involved. And by the way, for your affinity and loyalty to Jeff, who earned all of that, you
Mhm.
could still sit with him as a man and look him in the eye, just as a person, and look him in the eye and say, Jeff, this is why I'm doing it. In fact,
Mhm.
when so we had our little tete-a-tete, and then when we finally came together, that's pretty much what I told him. I said, Jeff, the reason that you got so mad at me, there was this dude who ended up going to AV Squad, and he's still there actually. Great. I shouldn't mention his name because I didn't ask his permission, but great dude, great cutter. But it was the same reason. So when me and Jeff got together, as tense as it was at first, I said, Jeff, it wasn't for these secondary reasons. It
Yeah.
was like you guys were doing great, but you were best known and getting a portfolio of films that were X, Y, and Z. And this dude, who's doing great, by the way, is needed to be working with these people and round out his craft, with these folks and on these types of films. Like those are more sustainable types of moves, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think anytime, and also I think this translates to like honestly any job. Like if your motivation is only money, like what kind of work are you gonna put out? Like
Yeah.
that, like let it be about the creative, like exercising the creative muscle, like wanting to do great work. Like if it's anything, if it's about anything other than that, like I agree with you. Like it's your head isn't gonna be there, and uh you're just, I don't know, like that's not, that's never been a motivation of mine of like, well, I need a big bump in pay, so I should probably leave this shop now and go here now because that's what happens, like
Yeah.
that you get a bump in pay when you go up. But like no, like it's like I've every time I've left, well, I've left Open Road and I've left Trailer Park. Like those are the only two moves that I've done, and both times it has been for a very specific reason of wanting to grow in a way that I feel like I couldn't do in the place that I was at.
So tell me about that move to XAV. They were still Project X at the time.
Hmm.
Was Chris still with us?
No, he was not. He had passed. So my move from Trailer Park stemmed on the next phase of me wanting to someday be able to be a producer and an editor. Like I
Mm,
wanted I wanted to be able to like work with clients on a producer level, but then also be cutting them. I mean,
yeah.
basically, honestly, like when you think about it, it's like following Nick Temple. Like I kind of just like that was like that was like the base layer. Nick Temple and Bill Neal, like those two of like the legend icons in my mind in the industry growing up. And so from and there were opportunities at Trailer Park. Matt was really good about that, like having the clients be able to work with you. But I just felt like the size of the company was so big,
Mm,
and there were so many people there that I wouldn't have gotten an honest um chance at actually like working with the client. It would have just been like, oh, he's this is Matt's movie and you're the editor on it. And it didn't make sense to me. And when I talked with and also John Bailey was at Open Road as a
oh, right.
junior writer when I was there. So I actually had
I
a
forgot about
relationship with
that.
him.
JB.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so we had talked, and one of the things that when we met before I went over there that I told him is like I wanted to do this, and he was very open. It was like, well, I work with so and so and this and that, and like I would love to like you sit on the calls with me and like let's go to lunch together, and like I would love to introduce you to all these people. So it right away painted a picture for me that what I wanted, like my goal could be accomplished at XAV. And also, if you wanted to have some stars aligned, Jason Crockett was there, who I'd
Yeah.
obviously worked at Open Road. Todd Buford was there, like, and JB. It was almost like an Open Road reunion. And then my
Mm,
my best friend in the entire world, Dave Rome, who I helped to get into this industry, like he was there, and so it just seemed like okay. And it was a smaller company, like it made sense. And then like the one last little nail in the coffin that made it work was after I left Trailer Park, then Dana left and went to Sony and
oh,
became a
right.
client. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, well, maybe this could work.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of like it just all happened and the stars aligned and it just felt like the right move, the right place
So
to go.
it should be noted that Dana is one of, if not the most frequent guest on this show. She's like,
I
last
should
time
call her right now. We should get her on here
we
so
should,
she could
should
be on a
totally
more
get her
time.
on here. Yeah. She's like, Corey, I've done you 3 times. I'm like, whoa, whoa,
Oh
whoa,
my
whoa, easy,
gosh.
easy, easy. No, but other than Helen, but Helen is almost like next level because Helen basically ran the show for the better part of a year. So, but between Helen and Dana, man, I mean, I have no idea why they put up with me, but I'm in pretty good company. So I've been blessed to become dear friends with some awesome people like Dan Flowers and Helen
Yeah.
on. So good run at XAV. Now I do we usually talk a lot more about specific pieces. So I really want to talk about behind the trailers, but there's a few questions I have. One,
Mhm.
The Chosen, relatively recent piece, last few years, right? So that violin, the violin, especially in the beginning of that piece, it's a very specific violin. And I grew up Jewish, so I could say that like it's a very Jewish violin. Were you aware of that when you were using it?
Yeah, of course. No, no. I mean,
Well,
this
it's
is the
this
one where you take credit for it, but no.
it's this very tinny. There's a tinny quality to that particular violin sound.
Mm.
Um, so where did that was that given to you by the client or?
So that was with Dana when she was at Amazon, and they have their own blanket library of music that you can use. And so Brian Sotelo, our director of music, pulled things that he thought would fit the tone of that piece, and that was one of them that really stood out to Crockett and I.
Hmm,
Yeah, I think he had like two or three, but then once we put that in, we're like, oh yeah, this is
yeah.
definitely cool.
It really set the tone at the beginning, and then it allowed like that violin stayed consistent throughout, but you began to build almost an entire orchestra
Mm.
slowly but surely over the course of the piece. But it really like entered me into a very specific time, a very specific place, a very specific people, a very
Cool.
specific type of story that was being told. So that was it was an interesting decision. The other one I got to ask you, the Big Cigar. So just a hint of that disco cue. He's I like okay, it's not just like the choice of that cue, but like how you that's what I was talking about before, like how you worked it in. It was just like a hint of it, right? So tell me about how that came about.
Cool. Yes, that cue. I think so. We worked with Darren Hamlin when he was at Apple on that movie, and this happens a lot with Crockett and I. This is why I love like we work as a team. Um, and one of the things we do, which I learned from Matt Brubaker, is like we both edit. Like any project that a client gives us, we're gonna cut no matter what. We're gonna cut two pieces at least because we're both editors and we love what we do. And what's cool is like Crockett and I naturally have very different styles. He's a very moody vibe type editor. I lean a little bit more on story and sometimes more emotion. So we ultimately what happens is when we work on a movie together, we both cut trailers, we send them both, and the client will look at them, and 9 times out of 10, they end up Frankensteining. They're like, well, we love the opening of Crockett's piece, and we love the middle of this one. And so we end up then just like, okay, cool, you're going to take it over. And I think originally Jason's trailer had that cue in it, the Hollywood cue. And so, but I think there was more beats from mine. So I ended up taking it over and kind of working it in there. So, yeah, I mean, the cue is perfect.
And it was
It
almost
worked.
like the way I talked about the script being a skeleton that you could build around. It was almost like that cue was the skeleton that you built around, right?
Yeah, I think that's another skill for like any aspiring editor wanting to get into the business that you have to learn. You have to know how to use stems of cues and to be able to kind of like make it work for your cut because what's going to happen is like something that's not easy to overcome as a new editor is like you spend all this time on this V1 and you've got this like amazing mashup of this cue or whatever, but then if someone gives you notes and says, well, we need to fit this line in the middle here, but like if your verse comes in, like you've got to make those beats and like uh Brian Gus, he was like one of the best editors I've ever seen at music editing. And he is like insane with comedy, and he would do this. Like he would create a joke and it was longer than the previous joke, so he would make the music work, and the beat would still land where the punchline needed to land. Like the music stop would happen. It's one of the reasons why, like in the ebook, I say if you want to learn how to cut trailers, learn how to cut comedy.
Yeah.
Like learn that first. If
Yeah.
you can cut comedy, you can do anything, because comedy has the base layer of rhythmic, uh of music. You have to learn how to, like, where you do your music stops, you've got to make it work to the piece. So I think with the Big Cigar piece, it was a lot of that, of just, we've tried different lines here and there, and you just have to make the cue work for your cut no matter what. Like you
Yeah.
got it, otherwise someone else will and they'll get the finish.
Now I'm trying to think who discovered that James Brown cues can make trailers funny. You remember there was like a whole like decade when every
That's
comedy
true.
was being cut with James Brown. But
Yep.
but to your point, it's a rhythm thing. So one of the pieces I want to ask you about is Deepwater Horizon, because you did
Mm.
something very, very different than I'd seen in most, if not any other trailer. And it was the weave of the kids' science project with the larger story. Was
Mm.
that was that something you discovered when you were first screening the movie, or a direction that you got? Like, how did that come
It
about?
that was actually a direction that I got from Matt and Dana, and I don't know if that it came from Tim Palin or who the client that we were working with at the time. If most likely he was like, "Hey, I want to do something with the scene,
Yeah,
um, like to be able to tell the story." So that was really cool. So I actually, if I remember correctly, I was told kind of the idea of the concept that they wanted, and
yeah,
then it was for me to like kind of play out and try to build the tension. Well, that was a really fun one too, experimenting with like letting the tent, like everyone knows what happens, right? Like everyone knows what's going to
yeah,
happen in the movie, like the oil rig's going to explode. So to be able to play with that and like have it build up in the story and then cut it out. And then
yeah.
like it comes back to reality and they're talking and stuff. And then it builds up again and builds up again and then it stops. And then like the little Coke explodes, and it
Right.
just like that is like the foreshadowing of like what we know is about to happen. So like that one was really fun to kind
So
of.
I want to ask you about that particular moment. So one in particular, about I don't know, about 90 seconds into that trailer, it's total silence.
Mhm.
Like it builds up to that, and then like oh, like I couldn't breathe. And it
Cool.
seemed like forever that it might have been like 1 second, but it felt like an eternity. That total silence. Um, are you is are you aware that that's specifically what you're going for? Kind of like a pitcher's like, I'm going to throw my ghost fork and I'm going to get the strikeout. Or is it like you just intuitively know that this is a moment, and then you kind of let the audience experience whatever the hell they experience? Like, do
Uh,
you know what I'm asking? Like,
yeah. So I I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, because I want to say like, oh, of course, like yeah, that's how you build tension. But for me, my process, like honestly, it's a lot of trial and error. Like a lot
Mm,
of times, I know what I want, but I don't necessarily know how to get there.
yeah,
But I can look at something and see if it's working or not. And that's like, as a producer, that's the muscle that I've been able to kind of like work, is to get quicker to know like, okay, what is it? What exactly do we need to do to fix this cut as I work with other editors? But for myself, a lot of times I don't know. Like I know what I want. I want you to feel like you can't breathe. I know that this is the moment of the trailer where your breath is taken away. Now, how do I do that? And I try something. It's like, well, this is okay. This is pretty good. And let me try something else real quick. And like, oh, maybe if I cut the music out early and let you sit in silence before it explodes, like maybe that'll have a bigger impact. And so it's a lot of trial and error, to see like how I feel when I'm watching it. And then, hopefully that translates to an audience member.
yeah. It's great. It's good stuff. The way you're describing it, it reminds me of a documentary of Picasso later in his life. And you would see those moments when he would step back from the canvas,
Mm.
and just the way that he looked, the way that he took in his work. Sometimes you're just too close. You're literally too close to it. You
Yeah.
have to kind of step back and experience, try to experience it as an audience in your case, or a viewer would experience it. So that's
And
that's
and just one little other note on that too. If for some reason I maybe don't know how to do it, that's when I go and I start looking at trailers or other editors
mm,
that I respect in the industry, and I find a trailer that does that moment successfully, and I reverse engineer it.
Okay, so again, I'm skipping ahead here, but since you mention it, so one of my favorite questions to ask is your favorite campaign, but you actually get into it on Behind the Trailer. So when you're looking at Bill Neal or Tommy Malatesta's work, when you see a trailer that inspires you or moves you, how do you analyze it? Like, what do you do to study the trailer?
Uh, first, well, first I watch it and I know like right away, okay, I felt something and it stands out to me. It either it's like oh, that's a good trailer, or something that really stands out to me and I save it. Like I download it and I keep it on my computer. So I can go back and reference it. I have like thousands of trailers saved and categorized in different, sound design heavy and this and click clack and tension, so that I can come back and reference it later. And then I'll ask those same questions. Like I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, what, like let's just, well, for instance, we'll use Tommy, which who I've never met, but I've talked to, like it's funny, like these people, like Bill Neal, I think I've met once when I was young. Nick Temple, I've never talked to in my entire life, I don't think. Anyway, so for instance, like Hereditary, like I remember seeing that trailer and it affecting me and like really feeling like it was something different that I'd seen, and then going back and analyzing it, like picking up on little things, like for instance, hearing the knife chopping before you see it. And I'd never seen that before. And I thought, man, that's smart. Like that's like I'm hearing a sound that I don't really register what it is, but it's like it grabs my attention. And then you show them what it is, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like it's horrifying. And he's done that a bunch. And it's like I think one of the first times I noticed anyone really do that. There may be editors that had done it before, but Tommy was the first one that I noticed. And like, he's mentioned on your podcast, like he's all about creating sound and almost like its own orchestral pieces. Like I respect any editor that can do that. Like that in itself is a task that's not easy to do. And so I think I just ask myself those questions when I'm watching it. Like, why do I feel this way? How did they do that? Can I do that? Let me try to do that. Can I do
Yeah.
that with this movie? Like, if the movie I'm working on right now, if we cut a trailer that mimicked this one, what would I do? Like, I just ask myself those kind of questions.
Yeah, and it's amazing that the guys that you're talking about all do similar things. Because they can't just put some sort of recipe, and mix and repeat kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So they're studying others' work as well. It's amazing how we look at folks like Bill, like Nick Temple, like Tommy, a lot of these guys, but they're students of the work just as much. They all, it reminds me, anytime I get to hear a recording of a virtuoso jazz musician, hearing Coltrane talk about Miles, hearing Miles talk about Dizzy, hearing Dizzy talk about Charlie Parker,
Mm.
and all of them talking about, well, they were all a little, when they were younger, they were all kind of a little bit hesitant to talk about Louis Armstrong, but everybody was picking up on Satch, right? And that's how I feel like trailer editors are, learning from each other, kind of driven by each other. Oh,
Yeah,
that fucker, he finished that one.
totally.
So, all right. So, looking in another direction, you are doing some real important work that is helping and inspiring folks who are just developing their craft. What inspired you to launch Behind the Trailer?
Oh man, a couple of things actually. Well, one, the obvious reason, the number one reason, hands down, is just a way to pay it forward. Like when I think about the years that I've been doing this, and I still like, I don't even want to say like I'm still in this industry. Like I'm still want to do this for 20 more years, 30 more years, whatever. Like I love, this is like my dream job. I love what I do. I'll never stop cutting. Like I love editing and I love solving problems, coming up with teasers, trailers. Can't like I just love what I do, and I hope that translates in behind the trailer and my passion for trailers. But the first and foremost is to give back to editors what I got throughout my journey. I like everything I know now has been because an editor was kind enough to like sit and talk to me about a trailer, or give me notes on something or show me their sequence. And so any sort of information that I can give back to people wanting to get in this industry to get that information, like that's the number one goal
Yeah.
in all honesty. Um, the second reason would be because since COVID and work from home became a thing, like time with my family is like non-negotiable. Like COVID opened up a whole new door and solved a very big problem that I was having at that point in my career, and that was I had just been married for a couple of years and starting to have kids, and it's like how do I stay passionate about this industry but also have like be present with my family and my kids. And but like pre-COVID, like that was really hard to do. Like
Yeah.
fibering, you never knew what time you were going home. And
Right.
even if you did, the second you get in the car, you're getting a call from a client that wants to fiber at 8 o'clock at night. And I've lived 45 minutes away from the office. So it's just like I struggled. I really had a hard time balancing work life and family life and being a dad and husband. So to skip forward with COVID, working from home and like really helped me to put that piece kind of more in place. But what I lost from it was now I lost the community because I've stayed, obviously, like my family is so important to like have the time here that I'm fully working from home at all time, even for XAV. And even though I see them on Zooms and occasionally will go out to JB's really good about having company events, I still don't have that sense of like what it was like to be in a company again and walking into someone's bay and to let's talk about trailers. And so honestly, that was another reason why I did this was for kind of like an outlet for me to kind of have a community to be able to talk about trailers in that type of way and just kind of analyze stuff. And I've just recently now created like a Discord channel, and it's amazing. And I've got a lot of friends from the industry, professional editors that are in there, and then I've got a lot of aspiring editors that have joined too. And it's a space where they can share cuts that they're working on, little mashups, little YouTube stuff, and give us an opportunity to give them feedback. The things that I got in a bay with other editors when I was at a company, in the office. And so that's been a really fun experience to uplift them, like to see what they're doing and to like tell them what's working about it and things that they should keep going on, and then give them the practice of like giving them some feedback and some notes and be like, well, you know what, if we were working on this, these are the kind of notes that I would give you, and let sit with them for a little bit, because that is a very real part of the industry, is learning how to receive notes and be able to to move forward with that.
That's really great because one of the things that we have lost post COVID is that just arbitrary spur of the moment, pop into a bay, bump into somebody in the hall or uh, getting coffee or whatever. So it's a new way to kind of revive that
Yeah.
that interaction among creatives. That's really great.
And also honestly, like to keep myself in check of like still just like analyzing work, because the work, like the trailers coming out, there's so many trailers that are released, but like trends change so fast, and so it forces me to keep my tool sharp. For those, so from my friends and people that I work with, to like really analyze what is coming out today and why they work, and just like to be in the know, and and just also I just love trailers, so it forces me to like really overanalyze some trailers, and I learn a bunch from it actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, behindthetrailer.com. So I want everybody to go to it to check it out. There's so much good stuff on there, work to check out, videos that you've created. Oh, who's Walter Murch and why does everybody have to know who he is?
Oh, so so Walter Murch is probably one of the most renowned film editors of all time, like Apocalypse Now, The Godfather 2. Like he just like he wrote the book on editing, which is In the Blink of an Eye. And it's actually a book that I had before I even got into this business. And there I came up with this idea as I was kind of like working on behind the trailer, and putting videos on YouTube. I wanted to find a way to kind of bring like to merge there's like a filmmaking community and then there's like the trailer community. And so I wanted to try to come up with a video or a series of videos that could bridge those two together. And so I was reading through his book again, and he has like he talks about the rule of six when making a cut. Like there's six things that makes a cut good, and it's like emotion, story, rhythm, all these different things. And as I thought about it, I'm like, you know what, like that's not far off from trailer editing. I mean, we break rules like in trailers, like we don't have to deal with continuity, and we make jump cuts, and we don't, it doesn't really, we don't have to follow all the same rules that you kind of do in feature editing. But those first three, like emotion, story, and rhythm, couldn't be more true to trailer editing. Like if you have those three things, you're good. If you don't have, like you can make an edit that's so slick and really fast and cool and cut, but if you don't have emotion there, like it doesn't mean anything. Like it's not it's not going to be as powerful. So I I came up with like this idea of like, okay, let's introduce Walter Murch, and let's go through each of these three of like the most important things of making a cut, and in a way of like merging people that are filmmakers are gonna be like, oh, I know Walter Murch, and then people who are trailer editors are gonna be like, oh, I like trailers, and putting those two worlds together. So
That's awesome. Yeah. So okay. So just give a brief elevator pitch, not pitch, but like a description of what behind the trailer is all about, who would benefit from it. Yeah. Just let us
okay.
know what it's all about.
Cool. So behind the trailer, what I hope it to be is a tool for people that are aspiring trailer editors, people that love trailers, that want to get into this industry, but maybe don't know how to do that. Maybe don't know which door to go to, how to cut trailers, like maybe are just trying it on their own. Like I just want it to be a resource that I don't want it to feel like it's something that they would have to pay. You can go take courses on editing. You can, go to schools and do this stuff. That my intent is never to like charge anything. Like my information I got from editors, like I want to freely give that back. So that's like my number one thing. Like I want it to be just free to for everyone. One interesting that I've noticed is I have a handful of aspiring editors that have reached out to me, and I've talked with a bunch and tried to mentor the best way I can. Also, like on Instagram, a lot of my followers are people in the industry. And so it's been really interesting is like on the Instagram side, I have actual clients and professionals in the industry that are watching my stuff and commenting on it. And then I've got the YouTube side, which are aspiring editors posting their stuff. And so it's been really fun because it's satisfying kind of both worlds, which
Yeah.
is great. And then that was like this idea for this Discord channel was to have like a community of both. Like how valuable is it that like an aspiring editor can post a cut in this Discord of something that they're very proud of, and an editor who's working in this industry can look at it and give them feedback right away. And not only an editor, but like maybe they run a division at a trailer shop, and now they know of this person, so that when they're like, hey, yeah, I'm part of the behind the trailers Discord, and like, oh, you gave me these notes, this is great, yeah, I'm actually looking for a runner job. Like it's kind of like I'm not headhunting, but i'm
Yeah.
i'm trying to bring people together and also build that sort of community, because like the trailer business is small. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there, there's a lot of editors out there, but we all know and have heard of each other. And like I just that would be my main goal, is like let's just have like a big community where we can all just geek out about trailers and help those that want to get into the industry to kind of like make that happen.
Trailer geeks. That's a great idea. No, just kidding. So have you gotten any negative or snarky comments like from anonymous posters?
uh Only honestly, like the only negative, not even really even negative, but the only like really critique that I've gotten a number of times is people wish my videos were longer.
Oh,
But like I try to tell them like, dude, I'm doing this at 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I have a
right.
full-time job,
I
and
mean, and by the
so,
way, the production value is like really, really good. I'm just like, man, but yeah, I get it. There's a lot of work that goes into this stuff.
yeah, I wish they
So
could be longer, but it's like I can only do so much, and still be creative in my full-time gig. This is obviously the number one, is my full-time
Yeah.
gig, and then this is just something that, you know, I I'm passionate about, and I want to help as many people as I can, but I have to, my priorities have to be in order.
Yeah. I got a negative review one time, and it's like the dude, I think it was a dude who was like, I'm in the industry, and these clowns, they're so full of shit, and they're talking as if the work is great and the work sucks, and they're so, like, and I'm like, wait, you're in the industry? Get out of the industry, man. You
Yeah, what are
clearly
you
hate
doing?
this stuff,
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, okay, I want you to do a little bit of prognostication for us, and meaning, you've seen this industry evolve in your time in it. You have a sense of like these massive changes that are happening. Where do you see things going in terms of like what are we still going to be cutting 2.5 minute pieces, teasers, and trailers for the time being, or is that going away? Or the TV campaigns have certainly not gone away,
Smaller.
but like
Yeah.
very, very different than when you first got into the business. How do you see things evolving overall?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't think that trailers or teasers are going to go away anytime soon. I hope not, because I love them so much. Obviously, like you said, TV campaigns have really diminished from when I first started. And then obviously digital is like a huge part of it now too, which, that's been another, you know, muscle trying to flex too. Like when I first started, like when all of us, there was no digital stuff going on, and now that's like a major player and a whole new canvas and way to tell a story or to sell a movie is through the digital campaign. And so I think it'll just keep evolving from that, and it just um yeah, I don't know. I don't have specifics. I think people are going to do whatever sells the movie the best.
Yeah.
Like whatever gets people in the seats, like that's the route they're going to take. And as long as people are still watching trailers, and if it's, creating buzz around a campaign, I think they're going to keep needing those pieces.
And you're working on such a wide range, not just features, but shows and different genres. So it's really great. Now, I usually ask let folks talk about their favorite campaign or piece of creative advertising, but I'm not going to do that with you for a few reasons. One is we could be sitting here for like another 6 hours having you talk about. But two is you do get into it on behind the trailer. So I really do want folks to go and check this out. Even for folks that are 20 years into their career, there's still some really valuable stuff on there. Just to hear another editor, a creative director who clearly just still loves this stuff, getting into it. So I really encourage folks to check that out. Now you get to turn the tables on me. Do you have any questions
Nice.
for me?
Yes, actually, two questions. One, so as you've done this podcast, I mean, you have talked with editors and just like these industry giants that have shaped this industry. And then you've also talked to some newer editors like, like Zuck and Shay, and like, have you seen like a through line of um like them versus editors now? Like, are they still doing things the same way? Are they approaching the work differently? Or like, are there similarities? Like,
Oh, that's a great question. So I think there there is a separation in a way with folks that grew up with accessible tools.
hmm,
Like an iPhone could have been put in their crib and they were working on iMovie. Like
yeah,
so. There's something that is native to editors that kind of grew up, and had these accessible tools as soon as they hit junior high school or something like that.
hmm,
It's almost like growing up speaking a language versus learning language as an adult. That said, there are others, like Benny had came on for a couple different episodes and then came on for that series where we're talking to all
yeah,
those, editors from the 70s, and some of those folks, including Benny, who kind of started with all the like the on flatbeds and then
yeah,
kind of evolved through the evolution of the tools that were accessible, and he's still cutting today.
hmm,
So there's something too about understanding the having that tactile experience of physically cutting film and then using the tools today and understanding where those tools evolved from.
Mm.
I can't say one is better than the other, but there definitely is a difference. Now, I'll give you one hinge point. So Skip Chasson, I think you can say that he was if there's like a center of history, you know, Skip was sort of there because he was there when some of the shops were first diving into Avid in this case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody like Benny or Seth Gavin, who was still editing when Avid was first coming out, what I just described, the flatbed versus the digital tools that started becoming available, they understood what the tools were developed off of. It's not that Skip didn't know what that he certainly knew what it was and he cut on film, but he was agnostic, and which allowed him to dive deeper into those
Mm.
tools and find styles and ways to tell a story or move from one moment to the next that maybe other editors hadn't thought of.
Yeah.
You know, so effects, or speeding up and slowing down, and just different things that somebody like Skip was he was just kind of open to all possibilities.
Yeah.
And I see that in some of the younger editors now, where they're not tethered by these old rules that, whether we were aware of them,
Mm-hmm.
or and somebody kind of trains them into that, or if it's just something that you kind of learn along the way, and you learn these beats and
Yeah.
these traditions, if you will. So I don't know. I mean, and it doesn't necessarily mean old versus young, or a guy who's been doing it for 20, because I see, like, I mean, what I was talking about with Tommy Pitt, like, that dude's reinventing himself on every fucking trailer,
Yeah.
Same thing with Bill Neal.
Yeah.
Same thing with Nick, and a lot of the guys that work with Nick, a lot of the guys that work with Chad over at AV, like, yeah, a lot of your guys, like, reinvent, like, there's just not one. It's not the best trailer editors. It's not the equivalent of Burger King.
Right.
That you make it the same damn way every damn time.
Yeah,
Reinventing
you
every time.
utilize the tools that you have in front of you, and like, I think going back to your question of how the industry is changing, I think that's an important mindset to have. Is like, like things are evolving, especially with like digital and stuff. It's like, how do you utilize those tools the
Yeah.
same that Skip did with, Gone in 60 Seconds, and using
Yeah.
After Effects, and like creating graphics that, like, at the time, like, no one was doing that. And so how
Yeah.
do you utilize the tools that are available to you now to be creative in a new way?
Yeah, yeah. You just reminded me of so the predecessor to Ignition was Harley's House. Harley's House initially was a commercial editorial shop, and then Harley Rinsler, the guy who founded the company, and then sold it to Martin and Ron Moeller. That's when it became Ignition. But they also had a fledgling motion graphics and design company, like high-end design company.
Mm.
And I think her name was Suzanne Kiley. She was a creative director, motion designer that originally came from Pittard Sullivan, or what? Not originally, but she was one of the kind of breakout stars from the Pittard days. And she was creating the show open for, oh gosh, it was a really good TNT show. I forgot. It was like Wall Street. Anyway, she was creating the show open, and she had an idea. And then I saw her taking a water bottle, like a Arrowhead water bottle, and she had a camera, and then she rolled the water bottle on a photocopy machine for kids that are in their 20s. They don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. But anyway, like, she rolled the water bottle with the spines, with the ribs of the water bottle on the photocopy machine, and then she was filming it as the light came back and forth.
Oh,
And then
wow.
she took that, like, that's how she was creating a shot.
Yeah.
Just like I don't know. I don't know. It just amazes me, because it's not just having the creativity, isn't just having the vision. Sometimes the creativity is like how you execute the vision.
Yeah.
So it just blows my mind sometimes.
That's
man.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have one more question for you.
Oh
So,
shit. Okay.
so for all the aspiring editors that I've talked to, or that are going to listen to this podcast, I've actually had a lot of fun the past, week or so preparing for this, going back and listening to some of your old episodes, and I've just, like, been blown away even still today of like the little nuggets of inspiration that I'm getting from these, from these giants in the industry. Of all the people that you've talked to, is there a specific episode or a couple episodes that you would recommend would most benefit people wanting to get into this industry?
Well, it's the one with that guy, Kris McDonald. And then they can go to behindthetrailer.com.
Oh yeah.
There's so much. It's like asking me which kid is my favorite kid, and I do have a favorite kid, by the way. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
nice.
But gosh, because you get something different from everyone.
Yeah.
You could go back to the episode that Seth Gavin and I co-hosted with Joel Wayne, and he has specific feedback. Jeff Smith, when he came on the show, he had specific feedback. I don't know if there's one. And you mentioned Tommy Pitt. I call him Tommy Pitt. He's Tommy Malatesta. One of my favorite notes that I got was from a kid who was writing to me, and he goes, "So I was studying the Tommy Pitt episode, and blah blah blah, blah." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! You got to tell me, wait, you were studying the Tommy Pitt episode? That's
Yeah.
really cool,
Yeah.
Not like listening to it, not like but like studying it." So,
I wrote notes down. I mean, I have notes down from like the past episode. Like for example, just to give you an example, the John Long episode I listened to.
oh
I
yeah,
even like I think I've met him once, like a long time ago, but I know that he follows me on Instagram, and I listened to this episode, and I messaged him. I said,
oh
"Hey, is this the John Long from Buddha Jones?" And he's
yeah,
like, "Yes." I'm like, I just have to tell you, I just listened to this old podcast of yours with Corey, and I was like, I couldn't agree with you. Like I agree with so many things that you said, and it was so inspirational. Like there's even like he mentioned this quote. It wasn't his, but he mentioned it. It's the if you don't like change, you're gonna hate irrelevance. And that, like
oh
I wrote that down. Like I love that, especially with everything changing. It's like that's the way of the world, man. Like things are gonna change, and you just
yeah,
gotta go with it and go with the flow. And like your creative people will be creative people no matter what.
yeah.
So anyway, like people do study your podcast, by the way, even people in the industry over 20 years. So
I mean, seriously though, like even if you just go back to the last half dozen or so episodes, like when Dana and Debbie came on together,
oh yeah,
there is just gold in that
yeah,
episode. Like, just like so many good people. So there's just so many, not just I say good people, that's such a general word, like genuine, generous, creative, smart, good people,
yeah, totally
Um,
agree.
so that's it's not, and by the way, I say this like not because I I'm the least interesting thing about this fucking show. Like there's so many interesting people that are part of this industry. That's why it's worth listening to. So I'm saying this genuinely as just like the fan number one. So yeah, so many good people to glean great wisdom and advice from.
But
Um,
you have a genuine, like this is honestly the first time we've ever spoken, via Zoom, but like you have a genuineness about you, and you're so good. You know everybody because you're like a good person at heart, and I can just tell that from like talking, shortly with you now. Like that's the industry. Like the majority of the industry are good people, like you said, and you get to know them and you connect with them and you create with them. And I think like that's the trailer. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of, drama, there's a lot of stuff in the industry, like every industry there is, but there's so many good people
yeah.
that are amazing to work with, and to meet. And so for you, like you are a star of this podcast because you brought everyone together. Like you sought out and you got to know everyone and learned their stories and give them an opportunity to share their creative process. And I think like that you definitely are a star of this podcast. So
I appreciate you saying that, man. I
yeah.
could say something self-deprecating, but I'll skip that part. Um, or I could say something like, "There are a couple of dicks in this video."
Well, I do have a list. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
I mean, listen. There are folks that let's just say I'm not their cup of tea and they're not my cup of tea, but I can literally count on one hand. But that's the case for anybody in any
Yeah.
industry. So I do think that this industry is remarkably filled with genuinely good-hearted people, creative, interesting people. So before we start to wrap it up, how can folks find you online, subscribe to Behind the Trailer, get the, just all the good, make sure they follow all the good work that you're doing.
Yeah, so like you said, just behindthetrailer.com, YouTube and Instagram is both at behind the trailer. You can go on there. So basically on YouTube I'll post more long form stuff. Like if I'm gonna do like a trailer breakdown or I do an interview, typically that's, 6, 7, 8 minutes long. That'll go on YouTube. And then on Instagram I'll post like little clippets of those. And I'll always link everything to and from. And then maybe I can give you the link to the Discord to put in the show notes, or just go on the website. There's a button that says community, and then there's a link there. It's free. If you don't know what Discord is, it's either web based or there's an app. It's basically like a almost like a chat room or forum in a way. It's monitored, so it's a place that there's specific channels like share your work and trailer industry or industry news and trailers. Like I like to post on there like a trailer that I've just watched. Like just literally yesterday, the Cape Fear, like the next
Mm,
trailer for Cape Fear came up, and I thought, man, what a great example of finding an element from the movie like the clapping and creating an entire back end based on that sound element. Like and so like that's something that you would find on the Discord, like in that channel. I post that trailer and I say that specifically, like, man, this is a great example of like using sound as an element in the back end of a trailer. It's like little stuff like that that I don't necessarily post on like Instagram or whatnot. Those are for like the longer, like the actual videos that I cut together. So I mean,
awesome.
that's it. And then, xav.la to see the best house in the business.
That's that a boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheering for the home team. But there,
Yeah.
and genuinely, like there are some just we've had a bunch of them on the show.
Oh
Shay,
yeah.
you mentioned Shay and Zuck, and just good. It really is a good collection of people. So
Mhm.
very grateful, and I'm grateful to XAV for letting folks come on and share their experiences and hang out with the likes of me. So no, just seriously though, really good people over there. We did cover a lot. Is there anything important we haven't covered that you want to add before we wrap it up?
Just don't give up. Stay hungry. Keep fighting for that dream job of cutting trailers.
There you go. Good wisdom. That's a good word. Kris, man, this was really cool. I'm so glad we got to spend some time together.
Me too. Me too.
Really grateful. Really grateful for the work that you're doing on Behind the Trailer. And just yeah, thanks. I hope we get to hang out in person.
Seriously, let's do it. Let's do
Yeah,
it for
yeah,
for real.
that'd be good, man. All right, thanks again, and thank you all for listening. As always, rate us, review us wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help us in the rankings. Follow us on all the socials. I'll be sure to. We're gonna hang out for a second when I hit pause, so I can get the links to put in the show notes. So the links to Behind the Trailer and what Kris's recommendations will be in the show notes as well. You can follow me on all the socials. I'm at Corey S. Nathan, Corey S as in Sam, Nathan. Check out our awesome sponsors too. Again, the Golden Trailers are coming up. So the Golden Trailer Awards, that link will be in the show notes. Really grateful to all those folks for helping us keep the lights on. Thanks again for joining us. Now go do some inspired work.